She demanded, "Put your parents' house in my name. If you won't, then this wedding is off." I smiled, perfect. Then I walked out and left her with the venue fees. Days later, she begged me to talk, but I was busy enjoying peace in the home she thought she'd own. My name is Ethan Cole. If you asked me what my most valuable possession is, I wouldn't mention my savings account or the car I drive. I would say, my parents' house. The 2-story red brick house sits at the end of a quiet suburban street. In the front yard stands an old maple tree where I once hung a tire swing as a kid. Every scratch on the steps, every slightly crooked paving stone. I remember them all. My dad is a plumber. My mom works as a cashier at a supermarket. They aren't wealthy, but they live with discipline. I still remember winter nights when Dad sat at the dining table, holding an old calculator and staring at a pile of loan papers. Mom sat beside him, counting her wages and saying, "It's okay. We'll push through a few more years. This house is for Ethan, so he won't have to start from zero like we did." That line etched itself into my mind. Not start from zero. That's why when I grew up, even after I had a stable income and could afford my own place, I still didn't move out. Because to me, it wasn't just a property. It was sweat, my dad's soaked shirts, my mom's tired eyes after night shift. My parents left for Europe 3 years ago to take care of my sick grandmother. They left the house for me to manage with just one request. Don't sell it. No matter what happens. I promised. And then Lena entered my life like a cool breeze when I least expected it. We met at a marketing seminar at a convention center. She approached me first. "Are you sure you want to sit alone in this lonely little corner?" she asked, holding a cup of coffee, her eyes narrowing playfully. I laughed and offered her the seat. Lena had a kind of charm that's hard to explain. Not the delicate, princess-like type, but the kind of woman who walks into a room and instantly knows what she wants, where she wants to sit, who she wants to talk to. We talked like we'd known each other for years. She worked in events, weddings, conferences, everything. Confident, talkative, funny. The kind of person everyone finds interesting at first meeting. Our early dates were simple. Coffee, movies, walks around the park near my house. The first time I brought her to my parents' house to cook, her eyes lit up. "Oh my God, this place is so cute. I love old houses with history." She spun around the living room, brushed her hand along Dad's old bookshelf, peeked into the backyard. In that moment I thought, maybe I'm really lucky. Lena never acted materialistic. She often said she came from an ordinary family too, worked her way up, hated the idea of women who sit pretty and live off others. I believed her. About a year into the relationship, we started talking about the future. Lena brought up marriage first. "I don't want to date just for fun. I'm already 29. I want a clear plan," she said as we ate pizza on the sofa. I nodded. I wasn't that young anymore either. Things moved fast. Meeting each other's families, trips together, Christmas dinners. My parents liked Lena. It didn't take much. Just seeing her speak politely and help clear the table was enough to make them smile. It wasn't until the second time she stayed over that I heard her first question. "Your parents are in Europe now, right?" "Yeah." "This house, whose name is it under?" she asked so casually, like asking whether I preferred tea or coffee. I answered just as casually. "It's under my parents' trust. I'm just living here and taking care of it." She nodded, didn't ask more. I didn't think about it. I didn't know it was only step one. Months after that question, Lena began talking more about stability. After we get married, we should renovate the kitchen, redo the floors, make the backyard a barbecue space. This place has so much potential. "Yeah, we'll see," I replied. She joked with friends. "At least I won't have to worry about rent anymore. My fiancé already has a house." Every time she said it, I felt uneasy. I always reminded her, "It's my parents' house. I'm just staying here." But whether people actually hear what you say is another story. Then Lena started comparing. My friend's husband added her name to the house deed after they got married. Have you thought about that? It depends on each situation. My parents worked their whole lives for this place. I don't want to touch those papers. But we'll be a new family, she smiled, though something in her eyes dimmed. I thought it was normal pre-wedding sensitivity. So I stayed silent. And silence is sometimes how you sign a contract without knowing it. I proposed to Lena during a beach trip. She cried, hugged me tight, and shouted. I said yes. Months later, the photo was still on her Instagram with the caption, "From renter girl to future homeowner." The words made my skin prickle, but I forced a smile. From then on, Lena went full wedding planner mode. She knew everything. Best venues, trendy photographers, concepts that photograph well. We should have the wedding at the Oak Ridge Garden. Outdoor lawn, warm lights, brick walls. Matches the vintage vibe of your house, she said excitedly. Is it expensive? I asked. I've got it. I work with them often. They'll give us a good rate. I didn't know I've got it meant she'd sign and I'd pay. Her family started bragging. Lena's marrying a man who already has a house. She's so lucky. After the wedding they'll probably move in there, right? I heard it once at dinner at her parents' place. I just smiled awkwardly and sipped my water. Lena, sitting next to me, squeezed my hand and joked, "Maybe we should add the name Marshall somewhere in that house, huh?" I squeezed her hand back and said, "That house belongs to my parents." Her eyes darkened for a split second before she forced a smile and changed the topic. As the wedding approached, she talked more about money. We should open a joint account and put both our salaries in it. I prefer having one shared and one separate. Why? You don't trust me? It's not that. I just believe in financial boundaries. I noticed she complained a lot about credit card debt, student loans, car payment. She earned well but spent equally as much. Every shopping trip came with, "Once I have a husband, it'll be easier, split the costs, less stress." I stayed quiet. I realized I stayed quiet a lot in this relationship. One night, I overheard Lena on a video call with her best friend. She thought I was upstairs, but I'd come back to grab the laptop I forgot. "Girl, you know why I agreed to marry him?" Lena laughed, twirled her hair. "He's not, like, super rich, but he already has a house. His parents paid it off. You can tell it'll be ours one day." "Lucky you," her friend cackled. "No mortgage? That's like winning 90% of life already." I froze in the doorway, hands still on the laptop strap. The house would be ours. Right then, I understood. To Lena, my parents' home was the bonus prize attached to the marriage certificate. Later that night in bed, she wrapped her arms around me. "Aren't we lucky?" "Why?" I asked. "Because we'll have a home of our own soon, not like other couples who have to rent." "It's not ours," I said. "It's my parents'." She paused for a few seconds, then laughed, thinking I was joking. But I wasn't. A week before our wedding outfit fitting, Lena texted, "Come home early tonight. I have something important to discuss about our future." All day I had a strange feeling. Not excitement. More like something was about to break. I came home early. Reheated some pasta, made a pot of tea. Around 7, Lena arrived, dressed more formally than usual, black pencil skirt, white blouse, hair in a bun, light makeup. She didn't kiss me. Just gave a polite smile and set her bag down. "Want some tea?" I asked. "No, thanks. Let's talk first." I sat down. Lena opened her bag and pulled out a blue folder, the type lawyers use. Just seeing it made my heartbeat spike. "What's that?" I asked. She unzipped it, took out a neatly clipped stack of papers, and placed them on the table. "Prenup," she said flatly. "These days, going into a marriage without clarity is suicide. You know that." I looked down and saw the bold title, Prenuptial Agreement between Ethan Cole and Lena Marshall. "Read it," she said, voice unnervingly calm. I flipped the first page, and before I could read the whole thing, my eyes stopped at one line. The property located at shall be considered marital asset jointly owned, and upon marriage, the name of Party B, Lena Marshall, will be added to all related documents. I looked up. She stared at me without blinking. I just want security, she said slowly, emphasizing each word. I've invested my time, my youth, my everything into this relationship. I can't enter marriage empty-handed. You understand, right? The rest of the pages were untouched. But that one line was enough. I set the documents down, suddenly feeling strangely calm. I'm not signing, I said. In her eyes, something flickered out, like a light suddenly cut off. You won't sign. Lena repeated the question a second time, as if her brain couldn't process it fast enough. Yes, I replied, still calm. Not angry. Not yelling. Just calm. And that very calmness made her snap faster than any argument ever could. Ethan, I spent an entire year planning this wedding. I told my parents this house would be our home. And now you're telling me a no? Yes. I leaned back, fingers interlaced. No, Lena shot up like a spring. The chair behind her flew back and slammed into the wall. You're selfish. You don't think about me, you don't think about our future. Do you even know what a woman needs? Security. I need proper documents. I looked straight at her. You want security? Then create it yourself. Why do you need to take it from someone else's house? Her face turned red. So these 5 years meant nothing to you? I gave you my youth. I deserve protection. You deserve protection earned by your own efforts, I said. She fell silent for a few seconds. Then her lips curled into a twisted smile I had never seen before. I get it. Her voice was icy. You're just scared I'll take your parents' house. You're scared of losing property. You never trusted me at all. I shrugged. It's not fear. It's respect for my parents. She slammed her hand on the table. The stack of papers trembled. You have to choose, she screamed. Either marry me or put my name on the house. There is no third option. I stood up. Then the choice is made, I said, walking toward the door. Marriage isn't a property transaction. If you want to marry a house, find a realtor. She screamed behind me. You don't get to walk away. You have to talk this through with me. I turned around, for the first time, looking at her without avoiding, without softening, without yielding. If marriage requires you to claim someone else's inheritance, then it's not marriage. It's a deal you're trying to force. She shook, then sobbed, then collapsed onto the couch. I expected more yelling, more demands, more pressure. But Lena started crying. Not the fragile kind, but the kind of crying that happens when a plan collapses. I can't believe this, she said through hiccups. I told everyone. I prepared everything. You can't ruin everything like this. I felt like I was looking at a completely different person. Silence grew heavy, filling the room. I heard the clock ticking, the wind outside, her ragged breathing. After a few minutes, she stopped crying and looked up. Her eyes were swollen, not with sadness, but with resentment. With hatred. You know what, she said. I already told my mom this house would be mine after the wedding. I already bragged. I already celebrated. And now what? I'm supposed to look like a failure. I asked. Who are you marrying? Me or the house? Her face changed instantly. You don't understand anything, she said quietly but sharply. Getting married without financial certainty is stupid. You think people marry for love? Real life isn't a fairy tale. I let out a soft laugh. You just said the one thing I needed to hear. Lena clenched her jaw. So you're leaving me, right? I answered plainly. You left me first. You chose the house before the relationship. Then I walked to the door. She screamed after me. Ethan! You'll regret this. I'm warning you. I closed the door. I walked to the backyard and sat on the old wooden chair my dad had built. The night was strange, quiet enough that I could hear my heartbeat. I replayed the past 3 years. The little comments. Those jokes that weren't really jokes. The way her eyes sparkled the first time she toured the house. The mentions of stability. Her family asking about the house like it was an item being shipped to them. Piece by piece. Everything fit. Everything had been a sign. A sign I ignored because I loved her. I closed my eyes and asked myself, if we married, what would life become? I imagined. Her daily fights about spending, she controlling my finances, pressuring me to pay off her debts, and years later, demanding a divorce and half the house my whole life could become hell. And suddenly, I felt pity for myself. Around 11 p.m., I got the first call. Caller ID, mother-in-law, future. I didn't answer. 2 minutes later, a message. Why did you make Lena cry? She said you refused to protect your shared future. What kind of man are you? I calmly replied. I'm not handing over my parents' house. I think that's reasonable. She responded instantly. You're selfish. A man must provide a home. Lena only wants security. You embarrassed her in front of our relatives. I put the phone down. Didn't reply. Then her father called. I didn't answer. Then her sister. Then the family group chat. Message after message, insults, blame, threats. I turned on Do Not Disturb. The house went quiet again. Near midnight, a text from a new number. Hi Ethan, this is Amanda, Lena's wedding planner. About the remaining balance, $3,200. I need to confirm with you. I froze. Why was the planner asking me? I called back. Hi Ethan. Amanda chirped. Lena told me you'd be handling the final payments for all the vendors. I just wanted to confirm. I frowned. I never agreed to that. She paused. Oh, but in our last meeting, Lena said. He'll pay everything. He just wants me to keep the contracts since it's easier. I closed my eyes. I understood. Lena had signed everything. Venue, photographer, decorator, planner, but assumed I'd pay. Amanda added, the venue needs the remaining $8,700 this week to secure the date. The photographer is $1,950. And the floor? I'm not paying anything, I cut in. She went silent. I understand, she said quietly. I'll sort things out with her. I thanked her and hung up. Lena didn't just want the house. She wanted everything. About 30 minutes later, Lena called. Once, twice, 3 times. Then the messages began. Long, emotional paragraph. Ethan, I'm sorry if I went too far earlier. I'm just stressed. You know how hard it is for women. I just want a secure future. Let's not break up. The wedding is in 3 weeks. Please don't scare me, I replied to none of them. By message 12, her tone shifted. Answer me. Don't drive me insane. Then, so you really want to leave me? Then, I'll be a laughingstock in my entire family if you do this. Then, I can't handle this. I read each message with no emotion. The only thing I felt was relief. Around 1 a.m., I opened my dad's wooden cabinet and took out the house documents, the trust papers. I reread them even though I already knew. The house isn't in my name. Not in my parents' names. It's in a family living trust. The beneficiaries are me, my sister, Claire. Neither of us can sell or transfer anything without the other and the trustee. Meaning, even if I married Lena, she could never touch the house. Not in divorce. Not in court. Not through pressure. She was trying to claim something the law wouldn't allow anyway. I exhaled. A wave of relief washed over me. She tried to steal something that couldn't be stolen. If she had known this from the beginning, she probably never would have made this plan. I stood in front of my bedroom door, looked at the ceiling, listened to the ticking clock. I thought about the wedding, about the future, about Lena crying in the living room. If I went back, if I said, okay, if I married her, my future would be drained dry. I placed my hand on the doorknob and whispered to myself, no, not because of the house, not because of the money, not because of my parents, but because I refuse to live with someone who sees marriage as a transaction. I turned off the lights, went to bed. For the first time in months, I slept deeply. The next morning, I woke up at 7 a.m. Sunlight slipped through the gap in the curtains, spilling into the quiet room. I got up and pulled the curtains open. The sky was clear, the breeze gentle, birds chirping in the backyard. Strange. The most beautiful morning came right after the night I ended a relationship that never even made it to marriage. I made coffee, opened the kitchen window, letting the smell of old wood mix with the morning air. Everything felt so peaceful it was hard to believe I'd just shut down an entire future the night before. But the peace lasted exactly 12 minutes. A pounding shook the door, so hard it sounded like someone wanted to break it down. Bang, bang, bang. I knew who it was before I even opened it. I exhaled and unlatched the door. It flew open, and Lena stood there. Hair a mess, eyes swollen, mascara smeared into 2 black streaks like last night's war was still raging. "Ethan," she rasped, voice hoarse from crying. "You opened the door, thank God!" She pushed inside before I could say anything. Lena turned to me, her eyes a mix of pleading and fury. "You didn't answer my messages. You drove me insane all night." "I said everything last night," I replied calmly. "I'm not signing." She stepped closer and grabbed my arm. "Ethan, listen." I misspoke. I was stressed. "We're getting married in 3 weeks. I just want things to be clear. I want to know I won't live an unstable life." "But you want clarity by taking my parents' house," I said. Her face darkened for a moment, then quickly softened again. "I'm not taking it. I just want my name on it so I can feel safe." I looked at her for a long time. A very long time. "You don't want me," I said slowly. "You want the house." She burst into tears instantly, like a switch had been flipped. "No. That's not it. I love you. I swear. But you have to understand, a woman without assets when she marries becomes the lowest in the household," she choked. "You don't get it. My mom said if I marry with nothing," she paused, "I'll be no different from a servant." I frowned. "That's why you tried to take my parents' house?" Lena stayed silent. Just cried. I decided to stop this endless loop. "Lena, there's something you need to know," I said. She looked up, hopeful, thinking this was her chance. "This house," I continued, "isn't under my name." She blinked. "Huh? What do you mean?" "It's in a trust. I don't own it outright. I can't sell it, can't transfer it, can't add you to it. Even if you force me to marry you, even if you drag me to court, you still can't touch this house." I added, "You're demanding something that, legally, I don't have the right to give you." In a moment, Lena's face shifted, from red to white to twisted with disbelief. You're lying. You're lying, right?" I shook my head. "I have the documents. Want to see them?" Her lips trembled. I opened the cabinet, took out the trust folder, and set it on the table. She walked toward it, then stopped, unable to open it. Because she knew. Her instincts were screaming that everything she'd hoped for had collapsed before she even confirmed it. I thought she would break down. But she didn't. She switched to raw anger. "You deceived me. You led me into this relationship without saying anything. You let me dream." I asked, "What exactly were you dreaming about?" She screamed, "A stable life. A home. A future without debt. Is that wrong?" My head throbbed. "You want a future without debt? Then pay it yourself. Don't demand someone else pay it for you." Her face twisted. "You're ungrateful. You'd be dirt poor without this house. You think you're noble? You're just some guy living off his parents' assets." I smiled. "Then why did you want your name on those assets?" She froze. Had nothing left to argue. I continued, "You want honesty? Fine. Last night you said you wanted security. But what you really want is something you never worked for, never contributed to, something you want to own because you stayed here a few times and are getting married. Marriage isn't a gift shop." Lena trembled. She knew every excuse she had was collapsing. And at that exact moment, knock, 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 The pounding hit the door again. Fast. Urgent. Aggressive. Ethan. Open up. Lena's mother's voice. I looked at Lena. She avoided my eyes. I opened the door. 3 people stood outside. Her mother, her father, her younger sister. All with the expression of people ready to interrogate someone. Young man. Her mother pointed inside. What did you 2 talk about that made Lena cry all night? I replied calmly. I just told her I wouldn't hand over my parents' house. Her mother raised a sharp brow. You make it sound like she tried to steal it. I didn't answer. Lena kept her head down. Her father cut in. The house becomes marital property after the wedding. It's not just yours. That's the law. I said. It's not my personal asset. It's in a family trust. I can't decide anything about it. The 3 of them froze for 5 seconds. Then her mother burst out laughing like I'd cracked a joke. A trust? Boy, are you trying to trick us? I opened the folder and handed it to her. She flipped a few pages, and her face changed drastically. Is this real? She whispered. I nodded. Lena's family looked at each other, confused, shocked, powerless. I spoke clearly, each word steady. Even if I wanted to, I can't give this house to anyone. Not even a future wife. A suffocating silence settled over the room. No one spoke. Finally, Lena's mother turned to her daughter, eyes sharp as knives. You told me you were going to have your name on that house. Lena went pale. I thought, Ethan said. I didn't know. Thought? Didn't know? And yet you bragged to the whole family that the house was about to be yours? Her father exploded. We raised you for years, thought you'd grown wiser, but you're greedier than a street thief. Lena cried harder. I just want a better life. I just don't want to be as poor as we were. The entire room went silent at her words. Her mother's face went cold. Her father turned red. Her sister stared at her like she was a stranger. I watched them all, and for the first time, I realized I'd dodged a tragedy. After a brief storm of shouting, her mother grabbed her arm. We're leaving. This is not a place for you to make a scene. Her father muttered. I'm embarrassed for you. Her sister looked at me and quietly said, Ethan, I'm sorry for what my sister did. Then they dragged Lena out. She looked back at me one last time, eyes full of tears, anger, regret, and desperation. But there was no love in that look. Only the sorrow of a failed plan. The door closed behind them. Silence returned. I stood alone in the living room, the stack of papers still lying on the table like the remnants of an attempted scam. I picked them up, tore them in half, then into smaller pieces, and tossed them in the trash. And for the first time in months, I smiled honestly. 2 days later, my phone blew up. Lena's friends asking what happened. Her bridesmaid asking why the wedding planner canceled. The photographer asking who would pay the remaining balance. The venue demanding payment or they'd sell our date. Her mother telling me not to mention the trust to the relatives. Her sister apologizing again. Lena sending messages as long as novels. I read them all and then turned off my phone. I didn't reply. In one last attempt, Lena texted, Ethan, I was wrong. I don't need the house anymore. I just want you, please don't leave me. I set the phone down. No anger. No joy. No heartbreak. Just emptiness wrapped in peace. One afternoon, I made a cup of tea and looked out into the garden. The house felt like it was embracing me. I thought, if I had signed that prenup, my life would have gone down a darker, bitter path. I thought again. My parents spent half their lives protecting this place, and I protected it the right way. Then I laughed. Not out of satisfaction. Not out of victory. But because I realized something simple. Some things aren't meant to be shared, especially with someone who doesn't deserve them. The house, my family's legacy, remains here. And Lena, she's gone from my life forever. And that's the best decision I ever made.